Today we will recap the movie Prometheus. Spoiler alert! Watch out and take care. The movie begins by showing us that thousands of years ago, there were no humans on Earth. One day, an alien spacecraft lands on Earth, and an alien emerges from it. The alien gazes at a massive ship hovering above him. The alien drinks a black liquid, and as soon as it consumes the liquid, its entire body starts to disintegrate. The melted DNA of the alien mixes with the water from a nearby waterfall. The scene then shifts to the year 2089 on the Isle of Skye, Scotland, where scientists are conducting research on a mountain. They discover a painting in a cave estimated to be around 35,000 years old. The painting depicted a man pointing towards some stars. Dr. Shaw, a scientist, tells her colleague, Dr. Charlie, that perhaps the beings from those stars are inviting them to visit. 4 years later, there is a spaceship called Prometheus, where Shaw, Charlie, and several other scientists are asleep in sleeping pods. A robot named David is taking care of them. He spends his time observing crew's dream in stasis, studying ancient languages, playing basketball, and watching their favorite movie. Suddenly, a red light turns on, signaling that they have reached their destination. The expedition leader, Meredith Vickers, awakens and orders the crew to be revived. The crew members gradually wake up, including Shaw and Charlie. The crew members greet each other and have breakfast together. Now, the entire crew gathers for a briefing. Vickers shows them a holographic recording of the now-deceased founder of Wayland Industries, Peter Wayland, who introduces the android David. Wayland explains that throughout his life he sought answers to profound questions. Where did humans come from? What is the purpose of life? What happens after death? He mentions the titan Prometheus, who wished for humans to be equal to the gods and was punished by being cast down from Olympus. Now it's time for Prometheus to return. That's why they embarked on this mission to discover how life began on Earth. During the briefing, the scientists are informed about how they found ancient paintings of humans pointing towards the same star pattern in various locations on Earth. They are now on a mission to explore a habitable planet within that star system, where they hope to find the beings who created humans, referred to by the scientists as engineers. The crew has finally arrived at their destination. Vickers then invites Charlie and Shaw to speak with her privately, as they are both doctors. Shaw is surprised by the vast array of expensive medical equipment present, designed for the restoration of the human body. Vickers instructs them to inform her before making any contact with the engineers if they do encounter them on the planet. Both of them reluctantly agreed. The ship then lands on the planet. The team wears their spacesuits and boards the rover to explore the planet's surface. David also wore the spacesuit as he is designed to make him seem like a human so that the humans are comfortable around him. The team rides in an advanced vehicle and soon discovers an artificial structure with a cave inside. Flying robots begin mapping the area. Meanwhile, the team starts scanning the area. They enter a chamber with flowing water and breathable air. They realize that the oxygen level inside the cave is even higher than on Earth, prompting some of them to remove their helmets. David finds inscriptions covered in a mysterious substance and presses on them. Suddenly, holograms of massive people in spacesuits appear, running past as if in fear. Shaw and Charlie chase one of the holograms and find the remains of an engineer's, with its head severed by a giant door. This confirmed the existence of engineers. Analysis reveals that the creature died around 2,000 years ago. Charlie asks David if he can read the symbols on the walls. David responds that it might be possible. Geologist 5 is frustrated. He came to explore the planet's geology, not the remains of ancient beings. He decides to return to the ship, accompanied by biologist Milburn. David opens a door to reveal a creature's head and large statues of human heads, surrounded by beautiful mural paintings. They also find some vessels, which appear to contain preserved creatures, and notice a black liquid seeping out of the boxes. Their presence in the cave begins to affect the environment, causing the atmosphere to change. Charlie begins packing up the head when the ship's commander informs them of an approaching severe storm. The crew must urgently return to Prometheus. Realizing this, The team decides to leave, taking the head with them, while David secretly takes one of the vessels. Suddenly, a storm hits, and they rush back to the ship to save themselves. Just as they're about to enter the ship, Charlie accidentally drops the bag containing the head and goes back to retrieve it. The strong winds push him away from the entrance, and he is thrown about by the storm. David comes to Charlie's aid, rescuing him and the archaeologists. But it is revealed that Milburn and Five are still missing. The captain contacts the crew and learns that Five and Milburn are still inside the structure. It's impossible to retrieve them now, so they must wait for the storm to pass. In the laboratory, some scientists begin to examine the engineer's head. They discover that what they thought was the head is a helmet covering the real head. When they remove the helmet, they see the true face of the engineer. To understand it better, they administer an electromagnetic shock to the head's nervous system. Suddenly, the head's eyes and mouth start to open, and a liquid resembling blood starts to ooze out. The lab fills with a strong odor, and the head eventually explodes. Meanwhile, David is seen talking to someone, and Vickers overhears him. She asks David what the person said, and he replies that they told him to try harder. David then begins to research the black liquid, while Shaw discovers that the engineer's DNA is similar to that of humans, confirming that the engineers created humans. Later, David and Charlie are having a conversation when David secretly slips some of the black liquid into Charlie's drink. Meanwhile, Schofield and Milburn discover a corridor filled with numerous uniformed alien bodies, all of which died from exploded skulls. Mobile scanners, deployed earlier, gradually recreate the structure of the building. The captain contacts Five and David, notifying them that a sensor has detected an organic life form approximately a kilometer away. Milburn shows the analysis results, indicating that humans are descendants of the creators. Meanwhile, Shaw and Charlie made love and went to sleep, whereas Schofield and Milburn enter a room with containers and vessels. They find that the leaked liquid contains snake-like creatures. One of these creatures attacks Milburn, breaking his arm. Five manages to decapitate the creature, but the severed head spews acid, which lands on Milburn and corrodes him. He collapses into a pool of dark liquid, and the creature grows a new head and infiltrates Milburn's body. The next morning, Charlie notices changes in his eyes while looking in the mirror. Meanwhile, the crew wakes up and heads back to the cave to search for the two scientists. They call out for them but receive no response. David separates from the group and discovers the alien spaceship's control center. Shaw notices Charlie feeling unwell, but he dismisses it as a minor injury. The team discovers the body of Milburn in the vessel room, and Charlie's condition is worsening. A snake-like creature emerges from Milburn's body and quickly slithers away. David activates the alien control panel, which shows holograms displaying a star map and pointing to their target, Earth. David discovers that one engineer is still alive, lying in a sleeping pod with a heartbeat. The team approaches Prometheus. Charlie is in very bad shape. Charlie's condition continues to deteriorate as the black liquid reacts with his body. Seeing this, Vickers, armed with a flamethrower, orders everyone except Charlie to enter the ship. Seeing that everyone's lives are in danger, Charlie sacrifices himself by stepping in front of the flamethrower, allowing himself to be incinerated. Later, David conducts tests on Shaw to determine if the black liquid has affected her. He discovers that there is an unusual creature growing inside her. She is 3 months pregnant. This is surprising, as it was only 10 hours ago that she was tested. Terrified, Shaw begs him to remove it, but before anything can be done, she experiences severe pain in her abdomen. David proposes to freeze her and the fetus to transport them to Earth for further study. However, she forces her way to the automatic surgical device in the med pod. As she lies down inside the machine, the creature inside her begins to move violently. Shaw programs the device to remove the foreign body and enters the capsule. The device extracts a squid-like creature, which remains clamped inside. She then runs outside the capsule and decontaminates the capsule by trapping the creature. Meanwhile, the captain notices that the monitor for Five is active and orders the gates to be opened. 2 crew members step outside. Suddenly, Charlie, who was presumed dead, reanimates and attacks them, killing both. They try to fend it off with flamethrowers. The captain arrives just in time to save the remaining crew by running over Charlie with a vehicle and finishing him off with a flamethrower, finally putting him down for good. Meanwhile, bloodied Shaw wanders through the ship and finds the living Peter Wayland. She realizes he was also in stasis and asks why he did this. Wayland explains that he did not want to die without meeting his creator. David informs her that one of the creators is still alive. In reality, Wayland is on the brink of death, and he wants the engineer to help him achieve immortality. Shaw suggests that they should leave, but Wayland insists that they cannot leave without getting answers to their questions. Shaw has lost faith and starts to cry. As she is getting ready in her room, the captain approaches her and informs her that this place isn't the engineer's home, but rather a military outpost. Shaw reveals that one engineer is still alive, and they are going to meet him. The captain decides that they cannot return home with killers on board. Meanwhile, Vickers comes to meet Wayland, and it is revealed that she is his daughter. Wayland, Shaw, and the team head to the site. Shaw discovers thousands of embryos in capsules and shows them to the captain. The captain completes the scan of the cave and discovers that it is not just a cave, but a spaceship filled with weapons of mass destruction, thousands of boxes containing the same black liquid. David leads everyone to the bridge. He explains that before the engineers went to sleep, they were planning to head to Earth to destroy humans, but for some unknown reason, they didn't. David then opens the sleeping pod of the engineer and brings Wayland close to him. The engineer wakes up and is startled to see humans around him. Wayland asks David to tell the engineer the reason for them being there. David speaks to the engineer in the alien language, but the engineer becomes enraged and suddenly grabs the android and tears off its head, and kills his two companions as well. Shaw, realizing the danger, flees from the scene. Although David is a robot and doesn't die, his head remains functional. The engineer sets the ship's course toward Earth to complete his mission of destroying humanity and launches the ship. Shaw urgently contacts the captain and tells him that he must stop the engineer's ship at any cost, or else the engineers will destroy Earth. Vickers, overhearing this, insists that the captain cannot do that, but he ignores her pleas. Furious, Vickers runs away, while the captain sacrifices himself by crashing their ship into the engineer's ship to save Earth, causing an explosion. Shaw runs from the debris, but Vickers is crushed by a massive fragment. However, she only has 2 minutes of oxygen left in her suit. She rushes to the escape pod and refills her oxygen supply. Inside the pod, she sees that the creature that was removed from her body has now grown into a massive being, making it impossible for her to fight it. At that moment, David contacts her, warning her that she must escape because the engineer is still alive and is coming to kill her. As the engineer attacks, Shaw quickly opens the lock, releasing the large octopus-like creature known as a facehugger. The creature captures and kills the engineer, allowing Shaw to escape. David then asks for her help, explaining that without him, she will never be able to leave the planet. He reveals that there are many more ships here, and he can easily pilot one. Shaw quickly retrieves David's body and head and prepares to leave. She tells David that she doesn't want to return to Earth, but wants to go where the engineers came from to understand why they treated humanity this way. David agrees and says that he can take her there. Shaw then places David's head in a bag and sets off on a new ship. The movie ends with the revelation that the engineer was killed by the facehugger, but a new species has been born from its body.